Hey guys, the show will begin after some introduction music from Gambler Huggins, God's Guts and Guns, and then Truth Vibrations, Slave. Let's get into it, guys.
We got a left-wing communist infection, wide open border with no protection. Main Street media cover-up connection, lying to the people and stealing their election. If it weren't for the NRA, wouldn't even be a USA. It's God's guts and guns that keep America free. We need a not-so-subtle truth injection. When they call it revolution, call it insurrection. I'll give that one a big kiss my ass rejection. It'll never pass the test on lie detection. If it weren't for the NRA, there wouldn't even be a USA. It's God's guts and guns that keep America free. It's God's guts and guns that keep America free. Lay it all down on the line for truth and liberty. If old George was alive today, he'd be a member of the NRA. It's God's guts and guns that keep America free. They turned the DOJ into a weapon and pointed it straight at the opposition. They took all the patriots and threw them in jail. They can thugs out of prison without any bail. If it weren't for the NRA, there wouldn't even be a USA. It's God's guts and guns to keep America free. We gotta stop right now and look and see what the left wing is doing to our country. And the only thing to stop them is just you and me. But are we the people guaranteed? From the Minutemen to the Marines and every fighting soldier in between, it's God's guts and guns that keep America free. It's God's guts and guns that made America free. Lay it all down on the line for truth and liberty. If old George was alive today, he'd be a member of the NRA. It's God's guts and guns that made America free. It's God's guts and guns that keep America free. We gotta stop giving money to countries that hate us. Flip bird to the United Nations. We got blue collar over taxation frustration. And I'm giving all work to miss reparation. If old George was alive today, he'd be a member of the NRA. Cause it's God's guts and guns to make America free. It's God's guts and guns that made America free. Hell yeah, hell yeah.
And impart this knowledge to them and find out that they just have walls built in front of them. They want to be slaves.
I ain't never gonna be a slave. I ain't never gonna be a slave. I will never play their games. I will never be their slave. I will never wear them chains. I will never be afraid. They gon' have to put me in the grave, cause I ain't never gonna be no slave. Yeah, I will never be afraid. Bill Cooper probably rolling in his grave. I look around and all I see is mind slaves, blindfold on their brain with a muzzle on their face. Yeah, and I will never back down. There's no timeline where that ever goes down. Before I take that vaccine, you'll be hearing that sound. Best believe before that happens, I'll be clapping out rounds. Yeah, fuck the new world order. They lead lambs to the slaughter. Poison in the food, air in the water. So I fight for the future of my daughter's sake, and hope that it make a difference. Either way, I'm with it, God is my witness. This system vicious, I will never be complicit. Fist and resistance to the finish. Talk about, I ain't never gonna be a slave. I ain't never gonna be a slave. I will never play their games. I will never be their slave. I will never wear them chains. I will never be afraid. They gon' have to put me in the grave, cause I ain't never gonna be no slave. Yeah, I will never be a slave. Chant down Babylon till I'm in the grave. Yeah, I will never be afraid. Spit my last breath in the enemy's face. Stand tall against the wicked. Spiritual warfare, that's how we living. You sleepwalking, you don't even know the difference. The fluoride in your water got you tripping, and I can see it in your vision. You brainwashed by the television. Their propaganda got you under a spell. Living in a mental prison ain't no different from a cell. I'm God body, I'm a vessel for the essence. You can count your money, I'll be counting all my blessings. My head high till I take my last breath in. Fist in the sky till I exit. Talk about, I will never be a slave. I will never be a slave, no way. Never comply, never obey. I ain't never gonna be a slave. I will never be a slave. I will never be a slave, no way. Never comply, never obey. I ain't never gonna be a slave.
Sheeple is what they are. They are following the Judas goat right into the shearing pins, and from there they will go to the slaughter, and they will not know that anything is wrong until they smell the blood of the sheeple in front of them.
This clip is from Breezy Politics. After this, we'll get right into the show.
They lied. Okay. They said
Saddam is seeking and is working and is advancing towards the development of nuclear weapons. No question whatsoever.
they lied. Okay. They said there were weapons of mass destruction. There were none, and they knew there were none. There were no weapons of mass destruction.
All right.
No question whatsoever.
Look, bottom line, there were no weapons of mass destruction. They said there are weapons of mass destruction.
If you take out Saddam, I guarantee you that it will have enormous positive reverberations on the region.
Going into Iraq may have been the worst decision anybody has made, any president has made in the history of this country. That's how bad it is, okay?
We should have never been in Iraq.
I guarantee you, no question whatsoever.
Hey guys, the show will begin after some introduction music from Truth Vibrations, Slave. Let's get into it, guys.
Impart this knowledge to them and find out that they just have walls built in front of them. They want to be slaves.
I ain't never gonna be a slave. I ain't never gonna be a slave. I will never play their games. I will never be their slave. I will never wear them chains. I will never be afraid. They gon' have to put me in the grave, cause I ain't never gonna be no slave. Yeah, I will never be afraid. Bill Cooper probably rolling in his grave. I look around and all I see is mind slaves, blindfold on their brain with a muzzle on their face. Yeah, and I will never back down. There's no timeline where that ever goes down. Before I take that vaccine, you'll be hearing that sound. Best believe before that happens, I'll be clapping out rounds. Yeah, fuck the new world order. They lead lambs to the slaughter. Poison in the food, air in the water. So I fight for the future of my daughter's sake, and hope that it make a difference. Either way, I'm with it, God is my witness. This system vicious, I will never be complicit. Fist and resistance to the finish. Talk about, I ain't never gonna be a slave. I ain't never gonna be a slave. I will never play their games. I will never never be their slave. I will never wear them chains. I will never be afraid. They gon' have to put me in the grave, cause I ain't never gonna be no slave. Yeah, I will never be a slave. Chant down Babylon till I'm in the grave. Yeah, I will never be afraid. Spit my last breath in the enemy's face. Stand tall against the wicked. Spiritual warfare, that's how we living. You sleepwalking, you don't even know the difference. The fluoride in your water got you tripping, and I can see it in your vision. You brainwashed by the television. Their propaganda got you under a spell. Living in a mental prison ain't no different from a cell. I'm God body, I'm a vessel for the essence. You can count your money, I'll be counting all my blessings. My head high till I take my last breath in. Fist in the sky till I exit. Talk about I will never be a slave. I will never be a slave, no way. Never comply, never obey. I ain't never gonna be a slave. I will never be a slave. I will never be a slave, no way. Never comply, never obey. I ain't never gonna be a slave.
Sheeple is what they are. They are following the Judas goat right into the shearing pins, and from there they will go to the slaughter, and they will not know that anything is wrong until they smell the blood of the sheeple in front of them.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Mansplaining Mike with the Mansplaining Mike Show, where wokeness comes to die. And today we're going to take a look at some of this transgender madness that, thank God, Donald Trump is putting to an end. I mean, that stuff was really getting out of control, and I think there's going to be a fight for us to get rid of it. These people don't seem like they want to relinquish their fake rights that people have been giving them, like the right to make everybody play along with your delusion. That's not something that's written in the Constitution, and that's not something I plan to abide by. Now, if that's something y'all want to do, that's up to you. I'm personally not going to do it. There's no way I'm ever going to call a cross-dressing male a woman. I'm not going to care if it starts crying or threatening me. None of that stuff matters. It's just not happening. I'm not going to do it. And I never heard of affirming somebody's delusions being the end-all be-all to ending the mental health crisis. Like, you can affirm somebody's delusions all day. It's not going to make them any better. If a schizophrenic person says he's going to burn a house down because he's hearing voices, are you going to tell him, hey, that's a great idea, and hope that once he does it, the voices will stop? I mean, by then he probably done murdered some people, or at least burned somebody's house down and committed arson. I mean, come on, guys. This doesn't make any sense. We're affirming people's delusions, and they're going into women's bathrooms because they feel like they're real women. And they're telling us all that we got to play along, or if not, we're some type of a phobe or a Nazi or whatever. Nobody even cares when people call people Nazi anymore. That's not even a serious thing anymore. You guys used it and played it out way too much. Like, nobody buys into that. Nobody feels bad when somebody says that to them. Nobody feels bad when the left calls them any type of names, because you're calling them names for just wanting to live in reality. And that doesn't make any sense, guys. But anyway, let's see what Donald Trump had to say on the situation.
With the stroke of my pen on day one, we're going to stop the transgender lunacy. And I will sign executive orders to end child sexual mutilation, get transgender out of the military and out of our elementary schools and middle schools and high schools. And we will keep men out of women's sports. And that will likewise be done on day one. Should I do day one, day two, or day three? How about day one, right? Under the Trump administration, it will be the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female.
Thank God for that. Everybody was tired about playing with all these genders. I think they got something like 172 now or something. Some crazy number like that. They just make up words and then they call it a gender. I don't even want to go through all the words they say that's some type of a gender. Furries and all that stuff. There's people that dress up like animals and want you to call them real animals and walk them around the block and stuff like that. There's crazy people out here, guys, we ought not be paying attention to. There was even some of them who were asking for like little kitty litter things in their classroom so that they could take a crap in the classroom in front of all the other kids. Just a bunch of weirdos so that they could be treated like a real dog. What kind of human being want to be treated like a dog? What happened to that being a bad thing? Like, people used to say, why are you dogging me out like that? Now they're like, treat me like a dog, please. I really want to be a dog. It's crazy. Anyway, guys, let's take a look at this next video. See some more of this trans lunacy.
This boy just got top surgery and he's sitting there boobless. I'm sitting here boobless. And I want to tell you about the journey so far. He goes under for surgery. Hours later, they bring me. They say, he's ready. He can see you. I go to the recovery room, and his surgeon is crouched over him, and there's blood just pouring out of his scars. It's disgusting, and they say we have to take him back in. And I'm like, okay. His right boob wasn't going out without a fight. A blood vessel popped. There was blood everywhere. They had to put him back under and fix it up. Unfortunately, we lost his armpit hair in the process. Only his right armpit. The other one did not get shaved.
That's crazy. Look at these people. They're delusional. These are children. That's so sad. Their parents allowed them to do that to themselves. And if it wasn't their parents, who was it? I mean, honestly, you guys got to stop this type of crap. You can't be out here mutilating children, cutting little girls' breasts off. One day they might need those to feed their children. Did y'all ever think of that? Or you don't want your kids to reproduce? And then we have to ask, what type of people don't want their children to reproduce? That seems insane. You don't want your kids to ever have kids? You don't want to be a grandparent one day? You want your bloodline to just stop? You want all of your genetic code to be erased from the earth? That's sad. That means they must have had really horrible lives to not want their children to have children. Anyway, guys, let's keep continuing on and see what other trans lunacy we get to.
If you go and you look at the Big Papa video, the lead woman or the lead guy in that is a transgender. Why is the lead person out of all the bad in New York City back then, even the women in the video, why was the lead a transgender? Why was there, you remember the scene in the bathroom? Why was there a transgender person in the bathroom with the and the guy? Now look at the girl. Go to the scene when Buster's talking to her at the bar, and Big walk up and move in there, and then or when she say true, stop it right there and look at the knot in her throat.
Gonna do what we came to do, ain't that right, boo? Forget the telly, we just go to the.
Her name is Shamika. She was from Queens and she got killed because she was dating her, didn't know it was a man, and went to have sex with her and found out she was a man, and she's dead, and he's in jail.
That's crazy. He went to jail for killing somebody who was raping him. That's rape. You can't lie to somebody about your sex and then they end up having sex. That guy probably wanted to commit suicide. You turned him into a sissy. That's horrible. I mean, I'm sorry, guys. I got to start feeling bad for these guys who are going through it. Like, honestly, if he honestly didn't know and then he had to lay down and all of a sudden there was some wood poking him in the eye, he's going to get mad. Who wouldn't get mad about that? That's disgusting. He took this lady home who he was into. He thought it was a lady. And then he finds out that it's really some cross-dressing man. I would be pissed. Anyway, guys, let's take a look at this next video. This one's sad too. This is about kids who did this stuff and then they had to transition because it didn't do anything to help them. In fact, it made their lives even worse.
Regret transitioning.
I hate being transgender.
I genuinely regret transitioning.
I regret the surgery.
I do regret transitioning.
My name is Ellie, and I'm a detransitioner. I didn't actually know that I was going to be speaking right now. I just came up here because I saw so many strong women and thought I should put my voice forward too.
You've had the surgery. What does it feel like to miss your penis?
I 100% feel like I was part of some cruel medical and social experiment. I wish somebody hugged me a few years back and be like, you know what, you can present feminine, you can wear heels, hair, whatever you want, but the sad reality is we don't have technology to make you an actual woman.
If you are about to transition, especially if you are underage, please listen to this. First of all, you cannot change your sex. Take it from someone who has tried. You cannot. There's no such thing as trans periods. Trans women do not experience any of those symptoms. You won't grow a dick when you start T. You won't grow mammary glands or ovaries or a uterus on estrogen. You will have to be on hormone replacement therapy for the rest of your life, no matter how this goes, whether you remain transitioned or not, to stay on your path. The side effects are severe. I feel like only detransitioners really talk about the harmful and irreversible effects of cross-sex hormones.
5 reasons you should start detransitioning.
So when I talk about being too far gone, I don't really know what else to call it. This is what I mean. This is how deep my voice is. It's gotten deeper over time.
I'm detransitioning, and for context, this is what I used to look like.
Why did you decide to detransition? Was there something that happened?
Part of it was I started loving myself. I started really digging in and understanding the concept, understanding psychology. Like I said, I started going for a master's degree in mental health counseling, and I learned so much.
Originally born female, I transitioned to male in 2014. I lived my life as a man for 6 years until April 2020. I made the decision to make Jesus Lord and detransition.
I'm angry. What's gonna happen to the kids and the youth? And there's so many people who regret this. There's more and more and more coming out, and younger too.
I was born biologically female and transitioned to male, and now I'm detransitioning. I didn't feel like I belonged with myself. My name is Alia, and this is my detransitioning journey.
I really don't know why it's such a big deal, though.
I was born biologically female. I began transitioning and taking hormones when I was 18 years old. Growing up, I couldn't pinpoint what my issues were, and then I realized that it might be a gender issue. When I turned 18, I did go to Planned Parenthood. I just stated that I had gender dysphoria, and they gave me testosterone a week later. Before I went on hormone therapy, I wasn't required to see any therapist or any sort of a doctor at all. So about 1.5 years after I was on hormones, I decided to see a therapist about getting approval for top surgery. I walked in on one appointment for half an hour, and then she emailed my insurance for approval, just like that. Even at this point, when I was passing as a man, I still had these doubts in the back of my mind that said, what if you're wrong? What if you made a mistake? In the end, I decided not to do the surgery. At that point, I decided to detransition and live my life as a woman again.
Okay, I'm gonna try and detransition myself with the power of makeup. Let's go.
Let's do a detransition update. I'm probably gonna cry again because that's what I do.
So I have a confession to make. I am an honest-to-God, genuine detransitioner.
Hi, my name is Shape. I started identifying as transgender at 22 while still in college. Before that, I was just a feminine gay man. Being asked about my pronouns led me to research transgender ideology, and pretty quickly I got convinced that I was transgender woman. I was able to get hormones relatively easily through Fenway Health, and was only on them for a year before receiving facial feminization and breast augmentation surgeries at 23. Taking hormones actually worsened my mental health, but therapists thought that it was because I was stuck in a wrong body.
What's wrong? What is it?
How I love being a woman.
Can someone please explain to me why I'm getting videos of detransitioners all over my For You page now? Like, where are y'all coming from?
I want to talk about something. I was forced to detransition. Biologically, I'm female. I took testosterone and I lived as a man for 10 years. But that long-term testosterone use gave me medical complications that forced me to face the reality that detransitioning was my only option, my real only option at that point.
Greetings, friends! Day 219 of being a detransitioned person who previously identified as a trans woman gender identity.
At 16, the very first medical intervention I ever had was a double mastectomy. A few months later, I was then put on cross-sex hormones. I am now 21. I live with constant joint pain, to the point that it is so bad that I have not been able to get out of bed to go to class some days. My vocal cords ache, my breasts are gone, and I will never know if I will be able to carry a child, because there's a good possibility I'm sterile.
They're trying to kill them. Breaking gay news. I'm so sorry to report that 1 hour ago, Tennessee just passed a bill requiring every single trans kid in their state to detransition within 1 year. Please sign the petition in my bio.
Detransitioning. It's not a fun topic, but I wanted to talk about it because I personally had to detransition in 2020.
I never had sex by that point, so I didn't know just what effect any of that would have on my body. But I was being treated as if I were an adult with the mental faculties to be able to consent to all this and understand what I was consenting to. But I wasn't.
This narrative that children, quote unquote, know their true selves, or they know their gender identity if they believe that they're transgender, or that detransition is purely due to social stigma or due to transphobia. If you actually talk to detransitioners, as I have, you'll hear the reasons as to why they have chosen to detransition, why they have regret about their decisions, in many cases having undergone medicalization. There's so many other issues that these young people are struggling with, whether it is being on the autism spectrum. They have, many of them, if not all I've spoken to, have a history of sexual trauma.
There has been as high as a 4,000% increase in children being referred to so-called gender clinics across the United States. I was one of these children. My name is Chloe Cole, and I am an 18-year-old former transgender child.
Before I transitioned to male. 1. That injecting myself with cross-sex hormones actually was harming and damaging my perfectly healthy body. 2. That changing my identity and changing my body wasn't actually going to heal the pain I had within myself. It was just an escape that created actually more trauma for me. 3. That it was okay to be a tomboy and not fit into society's beauty standards of what a woman was supposed to be like. That I was perfect the way I was and I didn't need to change myself.
Can we begin to understand today from these discussions how destructive this is to the psyche? It's no wonder they end up with separation anxiety and bipolar disorder, dissociative disorders, schizophrenia, and many other disorders that they want you to ignore. They want to block any child from having access to psychotherapy. The only reason that I'm able to speak to you today is because after 46 years of dealing with this issue, I was able to detransition in 1990.
That would be all the people who encouraged me to transition and then ghosted me after I detransitioned.
What do I feel about my detransition?
How many times are you gonna ignore the signs that people find? Yo, niggas are retarded, he slid and left his knife. Your mama must have dropped your ass.
So this is a question I get asked often, and I kind of wanted to start a conversation about it because I think that it's kind of a taboo subject. It's not talked about a lot.
Transgender reality star Jazz Jennings reveals they are unhappy with gender change surgery and hormones. How much longer are we going to continue this madness? How many children are we going to tell that they are born inside the wrong body?
Then now I can sit here and look back and be like, why did I do that? It doesn't make any sense. None of it makes any sense. I can't have kids.
No, I'm not the same. I think I done changed.
Consequences as well. Yeah, I think a lot of things have more consequences than we would ever know. Like, I mean, as a parent or as a doctor, you could just be like, okay, let's put our child on, or this child on hormone blockers. But the thing is, we don't even know what that's going to do. And if that was used as chemical castration on criminals and also gave osteoporosis to a young teenage girl from using it, then there's a problem there too.
My
name is Prisha. I'm with myself testifying on behalf of gender non.
If you don't know who this is Prisha. I would highly recommend following her and listening to her story. It is heartbreaking.
So I realized that I wasn't trans when she, her pronouns didn't faze me.
I recently detransitioned.
I stayed on testosterone for 5.5 years. My kidneys and my liver began to fail.
My health issues have kind of catapulted this decision a little faster. I decided to detransition.
Medically detransitioning has been one of the hardest things that I've done, to be honest.
Hey everyone, so I'm going to do a response video to this comment of why I detransitioned.
I came here to share my story about my detransition.
That if a child gets on it at 14 and lives to 85, that generates $1.5 million in synthetic hormone. Do you guys get that? That doesn't even cover complications. It doesn't cover surgery. And yet you call him a bigot. And you don't talk to me. You show all of the people, trans women are real women. We need to let children have the time to learn to love their natural bodies and embrace their differences. Because the truth is that the kids that are wanting to medically transition are the most vulnerable parts of our society.
This is absolutely heartbreaking. Our infrastructure and medical facilities suggest to children that they go through these different permanent, life-changing surgeries just to regret it and just to have their entire lives messed up. They should be suing these medical professionals. This is disgusting. There are so many detransition stories on TikTok and all throughout the internet. It'll blow your mind. This is a small taste. Please share this video so somebody you know or somebody you don't know, somebody in general sees this video and maybe it stops them from taking the chemicals or cutting off their body parts to permanently transition to try to feel better from something somebody did to them when they were younger. I'll say it again. Something somebody did to them when they were younger. This is all damage from when they were younger. Probably sexual damage manifesting into this. It's fucking sick. It's disgusting. Young children are impressionable. That's why they're bringing this stuff to the schools and to the children. Because they know that the children can make mistakes because they don't have the life experience. This is disgusting. They're not old enough to know. They don't even know what sex is. They don't know what they're missing when they change their organs. Come on. Wake up, everybody. Hashtag detransition. Detransition awareness. Spread this video.
Man, that's sad. All of those lives pretty much ruined. They'll never be able to get their lives back. They'll never be the same person they would have been again. They changed themselves. They didn't know what they were doing. They were underage. I mean, think about how many times in your life you've decided you don't want to go down the path that you started down. How many times have you decided you didn't like the job you were at and went and got a new job? That's how many times these people are going to change their minds. They're just like you. They're going to go through all the changes you went through in life, and you didn't give them that opportunity. You decided to change something that never can be brought back. Their sanity, their peace of mind, and the original human that you brought into this earth if you allowed your child to do that. I mean, it's absolutely horrible, guys. I don't know how else to put it. I mean, think about it. Like, these parents of these kids have to be the worst type of parents that ever lived. And they have to be abusing them. A kid doesn't just think, oh man, I really want to be a woman. Like, a little boy doesn't think that unless something's happening to him. He's being molested. That's how I think of it. Either that or he's being abused some other type of way. Or just being talked into it by his liberal parents. Because liberals think that this is a way to get people to fit in. Hey son, Do this and you'll have a whole group of friends. The degenerates with degenerate parents that your degenerate mama can get along with. That's all it is. It's complete disgusting behavior. It's child molestation at the end of the day. Anyway, let's take a look at this. This is about a parent-teacher meeting that erupts over LGBTQ naked pride book being given to kindergarten. What the heck would you want to give a naked a pride book with naked people to a kindergartner? What? Man, that is disgusting.
Relative to culturally responsive curriculum and
excuse me, we do not communicate with the community at this part. I will explain that in a little bit. No,
I don't know what they're talking about. The community is who pays their bills. That's who makes sure that they have an income coming in. It's the tax-paying citizens, and they think they're going to tell them how stuff should go. I mean, our politicians have gotten so out of hand that it doesn't make any sense. They're talking to the people who pay them like that. These are their bosses. Imagine if you went to work and you started talking to your manager like this lady is talking to all of her managers. What do you think would happen? Do you think you would still have your job if you were talking to your boss the way that that lady is talking to all her managers that are sitting in that audience?
Dr. Maloney, please continue. We do not communicate. We don't go back.
Since the last board meeting, I have spent a lot of time learning what other districts do when concerns about books have been brought up, and I've met with colleagues from other districts. And I think what's important for the board to know is that what I've learned is every district has a different approach and a different policy relative to this. The librarians also look for recommendations from students, families, teachers.
That's a delusional response. If a kid come in and ask you to get them the next month's Playboy edition, they're going to say no. So they should say no to these homosexual books with all this pornography in it too. I mean, if they're not going to show them, allow them to get straight materials, they shouldn't allow them to get sissy materials either. I mean, if it's good for one, it's good for all. And they got rules like that for a reason, that you're not supposed to be looking at porn. Just because it's two men involved, that doesn't make it any better. I mean, that makes it even worse if you ask me, but let's keep going.
Lots of ways that books are selected for the library. It's not just simply one way.
I think that my question, right, would be that, excuse me, if you cannot be quiet during this, we're going to ask for you to be removed. Thank you.
See what I'm saying? Who do these people think they are? We pay them. You're going to remove me from my auditorium that my tax dollars paid for when you're getting a salary being paid for by me? And you're going to talk to me like that? You're fired. That's all that should be happening right now. We should all be saying, no, you're fired. That's what those people should have done. Got up as a group and said, nope, you're out of here. Just like Donald Trump fires people, we should be up there firing our politicians. I mean, it's ridiculous. They think they can get away with talking to us a different way than they would talk to their manager at a job. I mean, if you worked at McDonald's and you told your boss, oh, no, be quiet, I'm busy right now, you think you would still have your job after that? I don't think you would.
I think it's important to know that when Dr. Potter said that no one has objected, we have the policy in place, right? The procedures in place to object. Excuse me. That is not how you object. So if you cannot.
You're fired. You're fired. Get out of here. What does she mean nobody's objecting? They're all sitting there objecting right now. And how is she going to tell them that's not the right way to object? Again, she's getting paid with our taxpayer dollars. She shouldn't be telling us nothing.
Again, followed by what we have asked you to do. We will ask for you all to, we will ask those people who cannot do that to be removed. We are here at our board meeting, right, conducting our business. You guys and I will...
No, it's our board meeting. It's the people's board meeting. You're conducting business for us. We're paying you. See, these people are nuts. We got to get control of this situation. Our government has lost touch with reality. I mean, even having this discussion about how they want to show kids pornography, it doesn't make any sense. Who the hell do they think they are?
Explain. You don't pay us because we don't get paid. Yes, we are going to go into a recess. Can I have a motion? So moved. Thank you. We are in recess.
Well, after the recess, they didn't come back, it doesn't seem. So, I mean, I guess that's how they end discussions with their bosses. They just walk out on them. just cancel the rest of the session and walk out like they're in charge of something. That's crazy. They're getting paid by us. She's saying they're not getting paid. They might not be getting paid for that, but they get paid. I guarantee you they're getting paid with taxpayer dollars. It's the school district. Where does the school district get its money? From our taxpayer dollars. It's a little bit ridiculous, guys, but let's keep going. This is about transgender saying that they are making kids trans. But I think it's more like medical professionals or professionals acknowledging what's happening, and just people in general just acknowledging what's happening. But let's get into it and see what we think, guys.
Yes, we are making kids trans. National Review. We are going to look back years from now and wonder how we failed young girls so badly. Between social media and fashionable gender theories, we are making teenage girls depressed, anxious, and trans. In a Substack essay the other day, a mother wrote of her daughter. She was among the last of her small group of biologically female friends to socially transition. It was mid-pandemic, and she spent most of her time with her best friend, who had, unbeknownst to me, shown her hours upon end of transgender entertainment on YouTube and TikTok. Of course, that is going to have an effect, although there is a massive effort to deny it among trans activists and in much of the media. The Geico Gecko can convince us to buy car insurance. Trump can post a meme on Truth Social and it can convince someone to go take a baseball bat to Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg. Someone can use the wrong pronoun and it can convince a trans person to harm himself or herself. But what can't possibly happen, we are supposed to believe, is that the constant discussion and celebration of transgenderism might convince confused young people to decide they are non-binary or trans. Even some trans advocates are willing to admit this makes no sense. Marcy Bowers, president of the World Professional Association for Transgender Health, told the progressive New York Times columnist Michelle Goldberg, "There are people in my community who will deny that there's any sort of social contagion, I shouldn't say social contagion, but at least peer influence on some of these decisions. I think that's just not recognizing human behavior." Bowers is an exception, though. It is taken as an article of faith among trans activists and much of the left that social contagion is a pernicious myth. This denial is based on the idea that people, especially young people, aren't suggestible. As if what we are told, what our friends do and say, what signals we get from society aren't enormously important. And as if awareness and encouragement of transgenderism, non-binary status, and heretofore unknown genders haven't increased dramatically. Internet searches for anorexia in recent years have declined while searches for transgenderism have soared. There are transgender and non-binary celebrities. Schools have started teaching kids gender ideology, and some will transition children without telling parents. The trans advocates argue that a more permissive environment is simply allowing people to embrace their true identities, the same way more people admitted they were left-handed when the taboo against lefties gave way in the 20th century. That analogy falls down, though, since the spike in trans and other identification is particularly pronounced in areas that are particularly encouraging. As Madeline Kearns of National Review points out, young people in California identify as trans at a nearly 38% higher rate than the national average. And in the Davis Joint Unified School District, in a heavily progressive city outside Sacramento, the rate is 3 times that of California as a whole. girls are particularly sensitive to peer pressure. This aligns with the trend. According to Kearns, there used to be more gender dysphoric boys than girls by about a 2-to-1 margin. Now, there are more gender dysphoric girls than boys by 3-to-1. Such suggestibility was evident in the TikTok-driven phenomenon during the pandemic of teenagers developing strange tics. According to a Canadian study, the New York Times reports, the adolescents were overwhelmingly girls, or were transgender or non-binary, though no one knows why. In light of all this, other countries have pressed the brakes on aggressive treatment for trans-identifying minors. In urging that so-called gender-affirming care be used only in exceptional cases, Sweden's National Board of Health and Welfare cited the uncertainty that follows from the yet unexplained increase in the number of care seekers, an increase particularly large among adolescents registered as females at birth. If Sweden can acknowledge reality, so should we.
Yeah, I mean, Sweden is a bunch of communists. That's where all the Bernie bros want to go and stuff. I mean, that's what I heard anyway. They're supposed to be like the most progressive people on earth or something like that, according to Bernie and them. But even they don't accept that crap. But we're supposed to accept it in our country. Look, we're not a communist country. We're not one of those crap holes. We're not even a socialist country. We're a constitutional republic. And in this country, we're supposed to protect your rights, like your right to life, your right to liberty, and your right to pursue happiness. But that's not pursuing happiness. What you're doing is pursuing a goal that's unattainable. We shouldn't let you do that. It's not helping you to gain happiness. If anything, look at what's been happening. It's making people suicidal. It's making them crazy. Here we're about to hear about a Nashville trans shooter who shot up a school. I mean, there has to be some type of proof that all of these hormone blockers and testosterone pills, those aren't healthy for people who can't handle that type of a chemistry going on in your body. Men aren't designed to take in estrogen. Women aren't designed to take in testosterone. That's not how our bodies were built. God designed us perfectly. If a woman was meant to have a lot of testosterone in her system, guess what? She would be a man, but she's not. She was born a woman because she's not supposed to have that much testosterone in her system. And her body and her mind, they can't handle that type of stuff. And same with the opposite. If it's a guy who's taking a bunch of estrogen, how is that going to play on his mental capabilities? Or how he's feeling? It's not going to make him feel better. It's going to make him feel worse. All you're doing is trying to stop being what God created, and you can't. You can't stop being a man just because you take some pills. You can't stop being a woman because you take a bunch of testosterone. It doesn't work like that. Anyway, guys, let's keep going and see what we think about this trans shooter in Nashville.
We have to do more to stop gun violence.
We now know that there are 3 students who were fatally wounded, as well as 3 adults inside the school. She entered the school through a side entrance and traversed her way from the first floor to the second floor, firing multiple shots.
You know what's sick about this? That was a grown man who thought it was a woman, but he went back to a school full of kids. Why would you go to a school full of kids? Those kids didn't hurt his feelings. Those kids didn't have anything to do with whatever happened to him when he was a kid at that school or whatever school he went to. Those children didn't have anything to do with what that grown man went through. But he went and took those children's lives. It's not because those kids did anything wrong. It's because that guy's a psychopath. And we're playing along with his delusion. We're affirming his delusion, telling him, yeah, buddy, Yeah, you can be whatever you want to be. Here, take these pills. It's crazy, guys. You can't do that with psychopaths. People who think that they're in the wrong body, I mean, that's the craziest thing you can think. You can look down and see what you are. I mean, this is insane. And cutting it off so you can't see it isn't going to make other people believe that it wasn't there. I mean, you still look like a man. It's insane.
We have a manifesto, we have some writings that we're going over that pertain to this day, the actual incident. We have a map drawn out of how this was all going to take place.
Man, a grown man who was dressing like a girl just went in there and shot up a bunch of kids. Probably because of them estrogen pills he was on. I mean, like I said, a man's body is not going to react to having a woman's chemistry put into his brain. I mean, that's not the way bodies are work. Bodies work off of what you're supposed to have in it because that's the way God designed you. He didn't design you to mess with it and turn into some type of a freak. Anyway, guys, let's keep going. This is another transgender person who brandished a knife, who was killed by police after tasers failed to stop it. Was that because they were hopped up on testosterone? Would you doubt it? I mean, when you're hopped up on testosterone, I'm sure it would make you act a little bit different, especially if you're not used to it. Because I'm telling you, it boosts your energy a lot. That's why men have more energy and more stamina than women. But anyway, let's keep going, guys. See what we think about this transgender who got shot by the police for threatening them with a knife.
Body camera video giving us more details into a deadly Denver police shooting earlier this month. Now, we do want to warn you, the video is graphic and we've paused it before shots are fired.
Put your hands on your head. Hey.
Denver police say on June 16th, they received reports of someone carrying a large knife at an intersection near Broadway and Lawrence. Officers got on scene, told the person to drop the weapon. They did not. That video shows, and you might have heard the tasers being fired. That was after that person pulled out a large knife. Then officers fired their guns. The person was pronounced dead at the scene and later identified as 52-year-old Miguel Tapia. Now, DPD says the Colorado Bureau of Investigation and Colorado State Patrol are looking at this shooting.
Why would you pull a knife on a cop? You know they're armed with guns. How does that seem like a good idea to you? To pull out a knife on a bunch of armed cops and then start running at them. And now, guys, we're going to hear about how Hitler was trying to deal with this stuff. I mean, I'm not saying the guy was right about everything. He definitely was wrong about a lot. Like, I wouldn't agree with a lot of the stuff that he did. Like giving away Palestine, for example, in the Havara Agreement. But we should at least be able to point out that some of the things he did was good. Like how he was fighting against Magnus Hirschfeld and his gender clinic. I mean, that had to be something great. I think it was. It's the same thing we're having to do right now in this country. I mean, it's getting ridiculous, guys. These people have been kicked out of 108 different countries for a reason.
And there's been a rise in anti-Semitism all over the country right now, and it's disgusting and it's horrible. People should know that one of the first things that the Nazis did, and I think it was in 1933, was they burned Magnus Hirschfeld's gender for sexuality. Magnus Hirschfeld
based
was studying trans people, LGBTQ people. Lily Elby, who the Danish Girl, the film Danish Girl was about, she had her first gender-affirming procedure at Magnus Hirschfeld's clinic. The Nazis burned it down. All of this research. And there were...
burn it. Burn, baby, burn. That's what we need to do. We need to burn all that stuff to the ground. I mean, our government, not us as citizens. I don't want anybody to get in trouble for arson or anything like that, guys. I mean, they will probably try to convict me for your crimes, and I don't really want to go to jail. I know none of you do either. I mean, most folks like us on the right, we're not with going to jail. All we want to do is live our lives and raise our kids like normal human beings. And these crazy people, they want to stop us from being able to do that. What happened to the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness? All they're doing is trying to get in the way of the pursuit of happiness by telling us we got to call these cross-dressing males real women. I mean, what kind of nonsense is that? That definitely goes against our First Amendment right to the freedom of speech. I mean, you're going to tell me I have to alter my speech for somebody's delusions? That doesn't sound like freedom to me, guys. But I don't know. I'll leave it up to y'all. I'm not trying to make anybody's mind up for them. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the show. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And share this with some sissy liberal who cry about it for the next 100 years. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. I'm out.